Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live YouTube Google Plus feed. I guess we'll give a few minutes here to wait for everyone else to show up, and I just want to welcome everybody. Um, Today's live feed is going to feature some excerpts from my book, Shadow of the Last Men, and live Q&A a little later on. After that, we'll be announcing the giveaway winner. There'll be a t-shirt and a poster and a signed autographed copy of Shadow of the Last Men with a new cover on it. So stay tuned for that. That'll be after the show. Just give it a few minutes here and we'll get ready to get started. While we're waiting, I'd like to direct you guys over to the Skylar Publishing website. You can find a link on the Google Plus page there. They added a few more ways to win the giveaway to get more entry points. So go ahead and swing by there and let them know that you've showed up for the live feed and everything, and that'll give you some more opportunities to win. Again, we have a T-shirt we're giving away, a poster, and an autographed copy of Shadow of the Last Men. So yeah, and the new copy will have the brand new cover on it by Matt Davis at Rock and Hill Studio. Oh man, he did a fantastic job on that cover. So we're really excited about it. It's pretty much stunning. Yeah. Again, we'll be announcing the winner of the giveaway at the end of the show, so definitely stay tuned for that. Just give it a couple more minutes here and let some people trickle in. As you can see, we're kind of here at the old battle station. This is where I wrote Shadow of the Last Men, so we're kind of right at home here. Got the old bookshelf and the little reminder there for my wife, always looking over my shoulder. All right, so again, I'd like to thank everybody for all their support entering the giveaway, and I think we got over 200 entries, so um, that shows a lot of love there, and I really appreciate it. Um, a special shout out to Penny and Celeste, who really helped me out a lot setting this show up, um, and again, stick around to the end because we are going to announce the winner of the raffle copper giveaway. Um, Pretty exciting prizes at the end, so good stuff there. So you guys can definitely on the Google Plus page, you can see that the brand new cover of Shadow of the Last Men is just intense and awesome, and I'm really proud of it. Um, so special credit goes to Matt Davis, Dale Robert Peace, who put the cover together. Matt is the artist, and man, is he an artist! You know, the it just kind of grabs a hold of you there. So we went back and forth about the cover a little bit, and he was really receptive to my ideas, and I got pretty much exactly what I wanted from him. So um, yeah, that was definitely a really good partnership, and we're looking forward to repeating it in the future when hopefully he can do the cover for the remaining 2 books in the trilogy. That'll be pretty awesome. Um, we'd like to get Volume 2, Black Sunrise. That'll be out the first half of 2015. So look for that, and look for a new cover by Matt Davis there. Dale Pease did the first cover, which was really good. I mean, it was definitely a great work of art there, and he also did the type, which came out beautiful. I mean, very bold, and I really like that. Um, but yeah, we really wanted a sense of kind of intensity in the cover, and well, when you look at it, you kind of just get locked in, and that's really what we wanted there. So um, so it looks like we've got some more questions rolling in. I think we'll go ahead and move into the Q&A portion here. So let's see. I have some questions here that have been asked in the last couple of days, and some of them are really good. Some of them are kind of funny, but well, we can go ahead and get started here. Let's see. The first question is from Deborah Erfurt, and she asks, do you remember where you were when you first got the idea for Shadow of the Last Men? If so, do you remember what you wrote it down on, like a napkin or a smartphone? Well, I mean, Shadow of the Last Man, it has kind of a murky beginning for me. To be honest, I don't really remember where I got the first idea for it. I think I started writing. I wrote out some scenes, um, and they were action scenes, so that I think I got really good at writing action scenes before I got good at writing anything else. Um, so just a few kind of descriptive action scenes. Some of them that are definitely still in the book. I mean, I'll actually read an excerpt later of one of the scenes that was almost the first thing I really wrote. But as far as like a napkin or a smartphone, I really all the work was on my computer, and it took shape over time and became what it is now. Uh, I wish I had some kind of um, strange bar napkin back of a bookmark story anecdote I could share with you, but yeah, it just coalesced. I mean, it kind of came out of a cloud, and I took it and ran with it. Um, okay, the next question is from Danielle Shipley. She asks, "Who is your favorite character in Shadow of the Last Man, and why?" Uh, that rough question, Danielle. I love them all. I mean, they're all just extremely different from one another, and you know, you as an author, you kind of put your heart and soul into each one. So they end up showing a lot of different archetypal qualities. But I think all of them are valid. Uh, especially the main four. I'd say Harrow, Halloween, Quintain, and Carver are really the main four most important characters in the book. And the book it's not going anywhere without you take away any of them, and you don't have as much a book as you do just a collection of drabbles. So, that each and every one of them is a thread, and that thread is the rope that kind of braiding them together holds the book together. Um, but I mean, I am really partial to the dudes. Halloween's great, and she has a heck of a character arc, probably the biggest arc in the story. Um, but being a guy myself, I think I've got a lot of aspects of different kinds of men in all three of those male characters. And Harrow is definitely kind of I put the bar really high for him, whereas Quintain has a really high bar also, but it's of a different kind of caliber. Harrow is really good at being a man, whereas Quintain is a really good man, and conversely, Carver is a really really bad man. He's just a scumbag of a human being. So you've got a lot of divergent qualities and character traits in there. So yeah. Um, Danielle also asks another question: what is your favorite part of the writing process and your least favorite? Well, the writing process is it's not terrifically difficult when you can get into the zone of writing. I mean, most authors will tell you that there's a point where you sit down and it could happen quickly, or it could take 15, 20 minutes, an hour, but after that period goes by, you just kind of sink into a rhythm, and it's almost like you're in the zone, and once you're in the zone, as long as you can sustain that, you can sit there for 4, 5, 6 hours maybe. Maybe some authors can do it for longer. 4 hours or so is about when I get to the point of diminishing returns there at the end of 4 hours usually. But that's easily my favorite part, where you sit and just write for hours on end, and the time just flies because you're in it. You know, you're in the story, you're creating something, and that's everything. Everything you are at that moment is just a writer writing. So on the opposite side of that coin is those times where you sit and stare at a blank screen for an hour and a half, and nothing is working, and you know, those days you kind of scratch things a little bit and give yourself a mulligan or whatnot, and you know, so obviously that's my least favorite part, is when you feel it. You know, you feel that you're in the chair, and you can't kind of escape into the writing zone there. Okay, so we've got Jamie Potter asks, how do you find inspiration for your stories, and how do you channel that inspiration to get it from idea to page? I think inspiration is kind of all, more or less, all around us. You know, watch a movie and there's always something to take away from it. Yeah, I mean, you know, I read voraciously. Um, Probably every other day I'm reading something new or rereading something that I've read before. And I think, unlike a lot of authors, I read a lot of nonfiction, so that I have a lot of basis, you know, like a realistic basis for what it is that I'm writing about. But yeah, I mean, inspiration can come from anywhere. Most important, I think, is when you realize you have a passion about something, and that's what inspires you to write about it. You know, and as far as Shadow of the Last Man goes, being passionate about it, you know, it's not really possible to do realistically the things that are done in the book. So you know, writing about it's the next best thing, I think. But I have a couple of, you know, little superstitious charms and that sort of thing that are around, and I do try to put myself into a mental state that's conducive to that in the zone writing that I was talking about before. But you know, my daughter gave me a little toy tank, and that's right here on my desk, and kind of shoots inspiration into me. So that's handy also. Okay, let's see. Diane Lee Jointner asks, your book can be read on several levels. Can you explain a little about the symbolism you use? How long do you have? Because that could take a while. I think if we're going to break it down, you have two types of characters in the book, and you know, obviously you've got your protagonists, Harrow and Halloween and Quintain, and you've got your antagonist on the other side. That's primarily Carver, although the society that he comes from can more or less be considered an antagonist throughout the entire story. And I think the symbolism of the Last Men is that they epitomize a quality of ressentiment, and that's kind of a French word, but it means trying to remake the world in your own flawed image rather than trying to remake yourself in the image of virtue. So, I mean, that I think is primarily the symbolism that I used was that they are a symbol of that. They've um, given up everything else that it kind of means to be human, in order to project their own flawed images on the rest of the world. And in the story, they're extremely successful at that. Um, and you know, that's one of the driving forces. That's the primary conflict in the story, is that you know, but as far as other symbolism in the book, I mean, whew, it's this is a 450-page book, and it's pretty well loaded with symbolism. Um, I think the psychological aspects of the book are are pretty hefty. There's a lot of Jungian type of symbolism going on there. If you can, you know, if you're familiar with that sort of thing. And yeah, but I did. I wanted to write the book on several levels, so that it was something that could be reread over and over again. And I hope that that happens. I mean, I hope that people who read the book go back and read it a second time or a third time, um, because I feel like it's going to be a lot like, you know, like one of those cult classic type of movies that you hear about, you know, Fight Club or whatnot. You watch it and you re-watch it, and you see things the second or third time that you didn't see before. And you know, so with a book, fortunately, you have a lot of opportunities to kind of hang those little Easter eggs there, and or just a little, like kind of a wink nudge or whatnot. Um, you know, so hopefully, I mean, people find them, and if not, if it doesn't strike an emotional chord or a subconscious chord like a symbol should, maybe at least if somebody recognizes some symbolism, it'll, you know, at least give them a chuckle or whatnot. Um, but yeah, I mean, I invite everybody to really kind of explore the symbolism, and especially, you know, the more arcane and scientific and technological things in the book. Really invite the reader to do research about that kind of stuff, because I certainly did. There's a lot of stuff in here that I think is pretty valuable, valuable information for people to have, but also their ingredients, that went into making a proper story. Yeah. Um, Diane also asks, what am I going to be for Halloween? You know, the beginning of September, I really don't think too much about Halloween. It's more a thing my daughter's into, but Diane, as soon as I figure it out, I'll definitely let you know. In the past, we've done all kinds of stuff, my wife and I. Well, we were a Mummy and Cleopatra a few years back. The Phantom of the Opera a while back. Yeah, so I mean, we like to have fun with it, but I don't think we've gotten around to thinking about it yet. Although I'm sure my wife is going to correct me on that point. Okay. Marilyn Oblad asks, what's your favorite procrastination activity when you know you should be writing but aren't? Well, you want the long list or the short list? I I spend I spend way too much time watching movies, YouTube videos. Uh, I just very recently bought myself a video game for the first time in a long time for my birthday, and uh, it was kind of a mistake to do that because that's going to be that's going to be wasting a lot of my time from here out. So yeah, Marilyn, thanks for bringing that up. That's um, a nice reminder of just how much time I've wasted doing nothing. Um, and that that if you don't feel guilty for procrastinating, you 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 probably don't feel much at all. So thanks. Marilyn also asks, what, if any, music, pictures, and art do you use for inspiration? If you do you use any of that when you're stuck, or as a general creative background vibes while you're hammering away at the keyboard? I can't I can't really I can't write if there's music going on, because I tend to get into the music too much, I guess. So, but a lot of the time when I'm thinking up new stuff, I'm usually in the car, um, and it's usually because I'm in the car that my mind is kind of wandering, not too far, hopefully, but and I got some tunes on the CD player or whatnot because I don't listen to the radio. Um, but yeah, that's when a lot of the brainstorming happens. Is you're bopping down the road and listening to some music. Um, and I mean, I like a lot of different kind of music. Um, Classic rock, I've been on a bit of a kick lately. I mean, Leonard Skinner's always a favorite. When I'm trying to get my mind right, classic rock, a little Freebird, that, that tends to put me in the right kind of mindset, especially if I'm writing like Outlander based stuff. I feel like uh, that classic rock more or less brings me to the roots there, and you know, being an Outlander is about as about as classic rock as you can get. But I think for for the Last Men, if I'm writing Last Men scenes, a lot of death metal goes into that actually, and you wouldn't think that for being the kind of hoity-toity, um, uh, pampered, luxurious type of people that the Last Men are, but that that the reason they're like that is concealing what's really on the inside. Um, so I think Fear Factory, Trivium, the bands like that, but more or less bring that out. That's there's a lot of psychology in those kinds of that kind of music, those kinds of songs that really lends itself to writing The Last Man. Um, as far as art, I mean, you guys can take a look at my Pinterest account, and I mean, there's so much art that, and I mean, a lot of it's just stunningly good, um, from the perspective of like sci-fi and dystopian and post-apocalyptic and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't say that it's like a go-to. I would rather stare at a blank screen for half an hour and let things percolate than go running off looking for the perfect piece of art or the perfect song to kind of inspire me. Because if that happens, you run off into the great unknown of the internet and don't come back, and then hours and hours later, maybe you'll find that song or that piece of art or whatnot, but you've wasted all that time in the meantime. So Dallas Freeman asks, was it difficult to strike a balance between action and exposition in the first book? Apparently I did it very well. Yes. I mean, that is difficult to strike a balance, because action is more fun to write, but action isn't always gunfire and fistfights and that sort of thing. It's dialogue is action also. So I think there's a lot of world building in Shadow of the Last Man, and when you do world building, you're going to have to do a lot of exposition. So I was really looking forward to kind of putting that behind me, and so far the second book's been a lot more fun to write, because I've really gotten down to the point where I can focus on action, and there's no need to really explain so much anymore. So that's it is. It's difficult to strike a balance between those things, but fortunately that's what we have great editors for. So I mean, the X is the best as far as editors go. That really made Shadow of the Last Man a much better book compared to what it was, when I submitted it. Dallas also asks if I'm familiar with C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy and Screwtape Letters. Apparently they have a lot in common as far as races of men who use science to communicate with demons, and this is considered the pinnacle of infernal achievement. I'm definitely going to look into those now that you mentioned it, but no, I haven't. And I thought that I had read a lot of C.S. Lewis, but apparently I'm somewhat lacking in that regard. But yeah, I love getting surprised with things, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. So thanks. Let's see. Andrea Smith asks, does music influence your writing? If I had a playlist, what songs would be on it to go with Shadow of the Last Man? I kind of covered this a little bit, but as far as a playlist, you're gonna find a lot of Led Zeppelin and Tool and Fear Factory, Trivium, Leonard Skinner. I mean, yeah, Black Sabbath probably. You get into that sort of stuff, and then you'll kind of have an idea of the mindset that went into writing the book. Yeah. Dee Dee Lawson asks, I'm impressed. When did you find out that you had a flair or passion for writing? Was it nurtured and encouraged by your family or a teacher? Well, I was definitely nurtured and encouraged by my wife. she's a bookie and a writer, a little bit of a writer herself, yeah. And some of her stuff is really good. Kind of puts mine to shame there. So, but yeah, I mean that really is all the encouragement I need. You know, she's had my back since day one, and that's been really valuable to me. Um, but as far as a flair or a passion, um, you know, I mean, they make everybody write in school. You know, I just tried to make the most out of it, and I think I've more had a flair or a passion for storytelling. Um, you know, and many years that's basically the primary activity for myself and my group of friends was just getting together and telling stories. And you know, sometimes there were rules involved, sometimes there weren't. You just kind of, you know, it's a grown-up way of playing in a sandbox, really. um, so that just built until I figured I'd strike out on my own and try to write a book for myself. And um, that's where passion comes from, I think. You know, if you're going to write for yourself, and you know, write something that you would really want to read, really want to enjoy reading, and other people will enjoy it also. You know. Let's see. Vina Kashyap asks, what inspired the trinity of the warrior, princess, and seer? What is the symbolism? Um, to be honest, I'm not sure there is any real symbolism in you know who those characters are. You know, that's just more or less how it turned out. Harrow and Quintain and Halloween, they are who they are. I mean, you know, I didn't come up with Harrow and then decide to make him a warrior in order to fit him into a symbol. Um, you know, the same goes with the other two. So, you know, those characters are not symbols. They're just characters in the story. Um, I, I mean, there's psychological cues in each of the character, and it, you know, that inform all of their actions. But um, I don't think I was really going for a Trinity motif there. Um, Although, I mean, you know, if that's how you want to look at it, well, go for it. You know. How long did it take you to write Shadow of the Last Man? Were there significant revisions before Shadow of the Last Man was published? Yes. Yes, there were significant revisions. Some of the chapters changed places. We did a little we did a lot of hopscotch with you know, changing the location of paragraphs and cleaning up a lot of dialogue and that sort of thing. And I learned a lot. You know, it is a beautiful thing to edit a book and to come away with, you know, the rewards of having your craft, your skill at your craft improve. Um, and you know, when I reread Shadow of the Last Man now, it really is. It's a record, and it's almost like an after action review. You've got you know, a record of what you can do better, you know, some of the mistakes you may have made that, you know, hopefully were corrected. Um, and I mean, really, yeah, it's a record of what I can do better as a writer. Um, so really, it kind of it's an inspiration to seek more out of myself for the following, couple of books here in the trilogy. So, that's um, yeah, but the editing process definitely, I mean, it takes a lot out of you, because you're you're hacking up your baby here. So, but in the end, yeah, from when it went in to when it came out, Shadow of the Last Man was it was like a boxer after a year's worth of training. Just fit, fighting fit, and ready for the big time, ready for the ring. So, shout out to McKenna Gardner and Penny Freeman, who were the editors on the project. McKenna was the line editor, and Penny edited for content, and those ladies did a fantastic job, and so pleasant to work with too. Vino also asks, am I a plotter or a pantser? And fellow authors in the crowd will understand it. She means, do I outline everything first and then write scenes off of that, or do I just sit down and write and then try to put everything together afterwards? And it's definitely the latter of the two. It was for Shadow of the Last Man anyway. I wrote everything down, and then that's part of the reason why the editing process was kind of drawn out. We spent a lot of time putting everything in order and shifting things around so that everything made sense. But I think the way it came out was really organic, and it shows its evolution as you're actually reading the story, which I think is kind of cool. But for the other two books, we're gonna because we've got most, if not all, of the world building done in Shadow of the Last Man, I've definitely got some outlines and stuff that I'm gonna have to try to work with, and that'll be the first time that I've written like that. So I mean, it's exciting, and it's also it takes a bit more diligence to stick to the outline and stick to the program, because you definitely want to ensure that you've got continuity, and continuity is page to page, chapter to chapter, and book to book. It's just like a movie trilogy. You don't want to watch. You want to figure that if these are 3 different books, you should be able to stack them and just read from start to finish, and not have anything jump out at you as whoa, what are you talking about? That didn't happen, or that sort of thing. It's just, it crushes your ability to suspend your disbelief. So yeah, continuity is very important, and that's why outlines are becoming more important. So I kind of dug my grave as far as that goes, with all the world building in Shadow of the Last Man. Now I got to stick to it, and it shouldn't be hard because it all came out of here anyway. So but having a record and like a list of lists, that can really help, that sort of thing. What advice do you have for other aspiring writers? Just write. everything else will take care of itself. But you need product. You need content. So yeah, I mean, if you're stuck worrying about whether or not somebody would buy a certain concept, or you're struggling to figure out whether or not you should write a certain story, you're wasting your time. Just write it. Write it first, and then figure out whether or not somebody's going to want to print it, publish it, buy it, or whatnot. But come into the writing market, the author market, with a finished product. You know what I mean? And by that I also mean, do your diligence and try to get it edited up as best you can on your own before you go, just spreading it around all over the place. I really don't have. I mean, aside from just sitting in the chair and writing, producing and creating content for your book, Skylar Publishing was the second publisher / agent that I submitted my work to, and I was really lucky that they kind of picked me up right off the bat there. So unfortunately, I don't really have any kind of anecdotal stories about being rejected over and over again and sticking with it or whatnot. I just kind of tripped and fell and landed in a pot of gold, really. So I mean, I wish aspiring writers all the luck in the world, because that's what I counted on, essentially, to get my book published. Yeah. Let's see. My good friend Penny Freeman asks, how do your personal relationships affect what you write? Do you let that seep in, or do you try to avoid any references that may be misinterpreted by family and friends? I think as a writer, you try not to care too much whether things can be misinterpreted, because everyone's going to read a book different, But if you've got family relationships in your story, you have to count on your own family members to not look at them as an indictment or anything like that. I'm certain that every author that writes about an abusive husband probably hasn't been abused by her husband. You know what I mean? So no, I mean, I try really hard not to let my personal relationships affect how I write. I'm writing in an entirely different world. It's a world where people are summoning demons and stuff. I mean, that's I put people in situations that I think from an emotional standpoint are familiar to us, but I don't think I worry too much about whether or not my writing is going to be misinterpreted. It's that really maybe there isn't a way to misinterpret writing. How you interpret it is how you interpret. I mean, that's that's just how it happened. So it's a good question though, because I think a lot of writers might fear that sort of thing. I don't. Um, and it really hasn't come back on me in any way. So I mean, I've got um, like friendships and parental relationships and more or less brother and sister relationships, that sort of thing. And, all throughout the book, and they run the gamut from good relationships to bad relationships. So, any example of a poisonous relationship in the book is also balanced by a shining kind of trusting relationship that um, uh, has a lot of virtue and emotional maturity behind it. So um, if you're going to set out to write a book where all the relationships are poisonous, I wish you luck, but I wouldn't want to read it. Um, you definitely have to have a balance, um, and even better than a balance would be a contrast. So you can see on the one hand where the people's relationship is just dark and poisonous and toxic, and on the other hand how other people's interpersonal relationships help them and help them want to be better people, or better characters. Um, so yeah, but I mean, great question. I'll wet my whistle here. Okay. Well, we'll move on. We'll get a little bit of the live questions going on here. A lot of those were questions that we'd been getting in, since the start of the week. So let's see. David Wilkin was asking a couple questions here. We'll see if we can get to David. David asks, "How did you come up with the title?" That's all my wife, Emily. She, I mean, the book was written, I mean, at least probably 98, 99% done. The first draft, that is, and you know, I was starting to think about, um, releasing the thing to start submitting it to some publishers and stuff, and I didn't have a title at all, and she came up with it. And, I mean, it worked. I think I just asked her one night, we were laying in bed or whatnot, what should I call this thing? And she just, spat the first thing that came off the top of her head. So she's pretty good at that. I mean, she writes and just comes off with stuff. It comes up with things off the cuff that would have taken me months to think about. So thanks, hun. Uh, and it really worked. She and I don't agree on everything, but man, when she's got a good idea, it's a heck of a good idea. Yeah. Um, yeah, David, I see your questions. I just wanted to cover a few questions that we had gotten, um, before the live show uh, started. So David also asks, tell me about what motivated you to write on this particular subject. Um, I think the number one influence for writing the Next Man saga uh, was actually a concept album, that came out in the late late 90s, I think, early 2000s. It's a Fear Factory album, but uh, it what's it called? Obsolete. If you get a chance to listen to it, incredible album. Um, but yeah, they go through, and the entire concept is that man is becoming obsolete as the future progresses, and uh, humankind will eventually get taken over by um, dystopian kind of machine-driven society, and they there's the presence of its own kind of Robin Hood character, more or less. That you know, I'm not sure I would equate Harrow with Robin Hood, but um, they're kind of along the same lines there. So yeah, but I started listening to that kind of stuff, that particular band in high school, and that it just grew. That it's one of those kinds of things that just sticks, and kind of sticks in your craw, and you chew on it for a while, and it eventually becomes a kernel. It's like a little piece of sand that gets stuck in a clam. And eventually, that's going to be a pearl. Um, and I think that's how it happened. Uh, yeah, that more or less inspired the Next Man saga. Um, and uh, it built from that point on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the world that I kind of look at, and um, uh, it adds another layer of pearl on top of that little piece of sand. So um, yeah. Let's see. Uh, Skylar asks, if you could hand your book to any one living person in the world with the certainty that they would read it, who would it be? Wow, that's a good question. Yeah, I really don't know, because uh, the people that you would think you'd want to give it to right off the top of your head um, probably wouldn't be affected by it, even if they read it. You know what I mean? Um, uh, yeah, I don't think I have any uh, particular person I could say that I really wanted to read the book. I knew that the people that were close to me and most important uh, were going to read it, and more likely than not, they were going to enjoy it, and that's what I wrote it for. I mean, I wrote the book to be enjoyed, um, and as a corollary to that, to have it have kind of this philosophical or psychological societal impact. Um, but first and foremost, I want people to read it and enjoy it because it's an action story, it's an adventure. Um, it's just one of those. It's not like a shoot 'em up, because it's grounded in things, and that's what makes it a. It is it. It's every bit a dystopian adventure. So I think anyone who would enjoy that kind of thing, that's who I would want the book to end up in the hands of. Yeah, but I mean, as far as like celebrities and that sort of stuff, I couldn't care less whether they read it or not. go for it. Hopefully you'll like it. Let's see. So AF Stewart asks, what do you feel are the major themes of your book? I think collectivism and individualism, and the kind of antagonistic relationship that those two isms have is a primary theme. You've got your city-dwelling last men who are more or less dependent on not just their empire and their servants and their bodyguards and that sort of thing, but they're dependent on each other and the kind of fake collectivist decorum that pervades their society. They're dependent on that for their security. So you've got that contrasted with the Outlanders, who are completely independent, completely self-reliant. It's kind of the law of the jungle out there. But that I think breeds this kind of stony toughness. So you've got a really incredibly advanced and progressed civilization on the one hand, that's so advanced to the point where it's become a decaying empire, against almost the Outlanders they really straddle the line between savages and barbarians. Barbarians have a civilization that almost resembles a state, whereas savages are really more tribal, kind of clan based. So you're kind of straddling the line there with Outlanders, and they're extremely spread out, and very individualistic. Whereas the last men are just concentrated in these tiny spots, more or less just pressed together and living right on top of one another, from a social standpoint. So and not that it's always the case, but that relates to another theme, which is that those collectivized societies, I think view those as evil or not. Well, in the book anyway, that ended up being the ultimate evil, was those people who had lost all semblance of their of reliance on themselves, and sought to remake the world in this flawed image that they had of themselves. That really ended up being the point that I countered with the idea that the three main characters, who you would call the heroes, all have this desire to remake themselves in the image of what they see as virtuous, and it's different for all of them, because they all have different virtues that they idealize. So, I mean, for Hera, those virtues are tactical. He values strength and courage, uh, technical mastery over, um, I mean, fighting styles and firearms handling and um, computer stuff, uh, the technical aspect of things, and loyalty and honor. You know, so he values that sort of stuff, whereas um, Quintain really values being a good person, in the objective sense of uh, um, from a moral standpoint. Hera is very amoral, and Quintain is very moral. Halloween is a little bit of both, and where her future is kind of up in the air. So that'll be exciting that I get to kind of fill in the blanks of what her themes actually are, because she's just at the end of Shadow of the Last Men, kind of coming into her own and finding out who she is, what she's all about. Whereas on the other hand, Carver is just immoral. Um, he knows he knows what the other characters value, and he values the exact opposite of them. So, yeah, I mean that's the yeah, individualism, varying kinds of values. Those are the major themes. A lot of them that are a lot of minor themes are also scattered through the work, but yeah, I would say that's what we value in life is what really gives us character. So it was nice to have an opportunity to kind of explore that a little bit. Let's see. SP Mount asks, it's the middle of the day for me, and so I'm still at work. Just wanted to pop in and show support. I did wonder, however, from what I've seen, would you consider the book equal parts character-driven and plot-pulled? Yes. I mean, I'd like to think that it's equal parts, both, but I mean, on second thought, yeah, it is mostly character driven. But both the protagonists and the antagonists, they drive the story. So yeah, there is a plot, and the story is pulled by that, but the characters are the plot. So I think it's their interplay and the conflicts between them, including the conflicts between the protagonists that that really drive the book. So no, it's not really equal parts, because there's no backdrop as far as things going on that the characters really aren't a part of, or that they become a part of. Yeah, the characters in the book definitely drive the story. But thanks, that's a good question. Let's see what we got here. Emma Michaels asks, what would you like for readers to take away from your novel? Enjoyment. I mean, pleasure would be the first thing. I hope that people just read the book for the intellectual pleasure of reading it, and it's an adventure. I think the main thing that I'm most proud of as far as the book goes uh, is the fact that it's I wouldn't call it a roller coaster ride, but it you know from the beginning and through the middle, it really gains ground, um, and the climax is where it kind of all comes together. Um, I think people of all stripes will really enjoy the end, because the way it worked out, and definitely the way that we edited it all together at the end makes it pretty seamless. And upon rereading it, um, it's exciting. And it's exciting even when I know what's going to happen. Um, so the entire book is one that you can read and reread. Uh, but I think particularly the ending is something that you can enjoy over and over again, because it's got just action movie style. I think the cuts from one character to another, um, you know, it, each of the character threads kind of burst apart and then gradually recoalesce. Um, so you get to track each character individually, and then they all more or less come slamming together at the end, and it makes it pretty exciting. So yeah, I mean, read it for adventure. It's an adventure book, and hopefully you take a smile away from it, because or maybe a chill. I don't know. But I think the fact that it is an adventure book, but it's backed up by a lot of psychology and philosophy, and there's a bit of spirituality in there, and all of that just I think gives a little more arm behind the punch. So yeah, yeah, but yeah, thanks. That was a good question. Let's see, anything else going on here? Let's take a look around a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and get into the reading here. I want to thank everybody for their awesome questions. I mean, yeah, I had a lot of fun answering those questions and stuff. It doesn't look like we have anything new here. All right. Well, I'm gonna read a selection here from Shadow of the Last Men. It's it's from chapter 14. I'm on page 207 after the break. If you've got a copy and you'd like to um, read along here, a little bit of background. We're in the midst of a battle scene here, and uh, Harrow, the main character, has found himself in a helicopter crash, um, and he's about to kind of um, use his use a really special ability that really informs the new cover, the re-released cover. Um, I think more or less kind of stemmed from this scene and from this selection in particular. So, all right. The pain fed Harrow. He nursed on it, drew it into the molten core of his soul, and consumed it in that fiery reactor as fuel. When he opened his eyes, all he could make out was a haze of acrid smoke. He'd blacked out on impact. Simon was rebooting. The crash had strained both his shoulders to the point of dislocation. His hamstrings burned as if they would snap at any moment. The muscles of his abdomen felt shredded. He flexed the fingers of his left hand. At least 2 of them were broken. Still, he rose to his feet within the twisted metal hulk. Deafening silence pervaded the crash. Nothing moved. No one lived, save for the Outlander. Thick smoke hung in the air and billowed from the red beast. Desperation and loathing combined to a potent cocktail. Wounded and alone, Harrow knew his chances of survival were slim. Explosions rocked the hull of the crashed transport, and the sounds of ongoing cannon fire echoed from the smashed maw of the plane's cargo loading ramp. Strobes of light from the continuing assault flashed through the crumpled opening, squeezed nearly shut by the impact of the crash. He located an area still large enough that he could squeeze through. If survival was in doubt, the odds of being able to actually influence the battle was even more so. The warrior racked his mind, searching feverishly for some kind of trump, a grandstand move he could make that would leave his enemies defeated and his allies safe. Ultimately, it did not matter. His hated foes were within his grasp, and he could not conceive of escaping without offering battle, so he swallowed his agony and crawled out of the wreckage. Agony and hate swirled in a double helix. There was no other method to achieve victory. Weapons alone were useful and good, but the courage to drive a blade into another man's guts was the ultimate factor here, and Harrow possessed that in droves. More squadrons of soldiers remained. Dupes, pawns, puppets of the last men. Harrow disdained them, felt contempt and loathing pouring streams of broken glass through his veins. He wanted to feel them die. Boiling with hate, he set out to do exactly that. So yeah, I mean that's where the cover came from, more or less. You've got this image of a man becoming something else, or really being consumed or subsumed by something else. So yeah, I mean, Matt Davis did a fantastic job capturing that. Capturing the essence of that particular scene when Harrow is I mean, he doesn't intentionally. He intentionally allows himself to be taken over by this archetypal, elemental spirit of vengeance, and he really lets that use him to accomplish its quest for revenge, and just really a bloody rage, more or less. So you have that. You definitely have that in the new cover. You can see it. There's a man fading into a background, and this bronze spirit of burnt fire, and rage kind of pouring out from inside him. So yeah, I mean, kudos to Matt. He really captured that scene terrifically. We're getting to the point here where it's just about time to announce the winner of the giveaway. Let's see. So we've got a brand new poster, and that was it's a poster of the new cover, and it appears as though Sean Gray has won the poster. So congratulations, Sean. We'll get that poster out to you. I'm really going to enjoy the poster. I mean, like I said, I'm going to get a poster of my own, but you know, just the way that the cover came together, you know, be a good thing to hang up in your old man cave or you know, office or whatnot. So yeah, that'll be pretty good. Let's see. There's a Skylar Publishing black T-shirt that we were giving away on Rafflecopter. Matt Bratek has won the T-shirt. So congratulations, Matt. You know, we'll get that T-shirt to you pending verification there. Pretty nice black T-shirt too. It's got the Skylar Publishing logo on it, and looks pretty nice. Should have picked one up so I could wear one today. And let's see, Deborah Erfurt, who you know, asked all those great questions earlier. She won the autographed copy of Shadow of the Last Man with a new cover. So as soon as I put my old John Hancock on there, we'll send it out to you. So congratulations, Deborah. Thanks again for your awesome questions earlier. So yeah, you know, congratulations to all the winners. Thanks everybody for participating in the Rafflecopter giveaway. That's really meant a lot to me, and it was a heck of a lot of fun kind of watching those entries pile up and stack on there. So yeah, it was really cool. I want to thank Skylar Publishing for hosting the giveaway. It's a fantastic idea, and again, congratulations. I think unless we've got a few more questions that have been rolling in here, it doesn't look like it. Okay, well, again, thanks for joining me. I hope I got pretty much most of, if not all, your questions here. Again, special thanks to Celeste, Penny, who helped me set this whole thing up, and Skylar Publishing in general have been, you know, really generously pushing my book lately and pushing the new cover around. Matt's work is pretty well plastered across the internet far and wide, and it deserves to be. It's a great work of art. Really fits the book well. And speaking of the book, the Google Plus page there has links you can follow. Go ahead, check it out. It's available Kindle, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, paperback. Yeah, so check it out. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that kind of stuff. And we'll be sure to make the links available to everybody. So again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all your great questions. Have a good one.